in 95. What I did was, what I'll do is I need variety. So I started out at North Central Texas College and the advisor counselor role, and soon the counselor role was kind of taking over, and there wasn't enough time for me to do counselor with advisor. And so I was having to make that choice, and what I did is chose to go into private practice. And it was very hard to jump out of the safety of a 40-hour work week with benefits into private practice. But it felt like I was being pulled in that direction, and that agency taught me some things, what to do, and definitely some what not to do that didn't fit for me. And therefore, about that time, I got the opportunity to work as a military and family life counselor overseas in Germany for a few months, and it was life-changing to me. And I did that off and on, different countries, different bases, and stateside for about 14 years, up until this past June. I was a military and family life counselor, which was incredible and stressful at times as well. So the different tides and turns. And then when I came back home from that first a few month assignment in Germany, I started Terrell Counseling, and it grew from a 500 square foot office to now we have 11 therapists and and a couple of locations. And I now have a partner who runs it because now I work here overseas with our military as a therapist. And so therefore, what I love about our occupation, I said all that to say this, what I love about it is that you can make it what you want. As risk averse as you want to be, or if you prefer not to be, that is okay too. You can create what you desire, because there's always a need for a therapist.
For sure. Yeah, there are so many different types of opportunities within counseling and therapy. Like you said, to be able to do, your personal private practice, and I love following you on social media just to see what new adventures you're getting to do.
What's happening now?
Right? And, right now, I'm, making the choice to be here at NCTC. It's so near and dear to my heart. I'm an alumni. And if I hadn't have ever started at NCTC, I would not have moved on, finished a bachelor's degree, finished a master's degree.
Gosh,
yes.
So
I come from working class poverty, and so
that's a good way to put it.
I grew up in Gainesville here, and so if NCTC had not been right here, I don't really know what my life would look like, and if I had pursued higher education. And so
and look at you
now.
now.
Learning, right, and so I guess maybe this is the message for someone that, comes from not a lot, that, if you invest in your education and, utilize that time to learn and better yourself, it's going to pay off in the long run. It's about consistency over time, because you do have to have that master's degree in order to be a counselor. And but it can happen. It can definitely
Absolutely.
happen. And, I look back over the years and the things that I've done, and, I'm just so thankful that I have the opportunity of NCTC. And so that's why I love being here and being able to share my journey with students, and to kind of help speak hope into them and speak some life into them, just because a lot of times I see myself when I'm looking at another student. And so that's a pretty amazing experience to get to be that encourager and that helper on the other side.
And pivotal at certain moments. I mean, I remember my advising /counseling days when Someone would walk in and just say, you know what, I've had it. I can't do this. I'm ready. I'm on my last leg. And that connection and how I come across to them would make the difference between whether they walked out or not.
Yes.
I'm sure you relate to that very much. I saw you very patient, steadfast, guiding and comforting so many that were ready to just call it quits. And maybe they still did, but I think they came back. There was a high likelihood that they came back because of their connection with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's so much of what I do have the pleasure and the joy of getting to do, is making those individual connections with our students and letting them know, you're not alone. It may feel like that, and especially with this pandemic going on, you're not alone. It feels that way, but, a lot of us, and it's not just me, like a lot of other coworkers here have had similar experiences, and that's why we like and enjoy so much what we do, because we've kind of lived through some of that experience that a lot of our students are in. And so just getting to have that moment of really caring about someone, because we know it can change their future. Education can really change that future. And having a connection with someone that knows that they're cared about, I think helps that student come back.
It's everything.
Helps them realize that. Yeah.
It's everything. So,
for sure.
So for the student that says, "Hey, I'm not sure what I want to do, but I think I'd like to be a counselor or a therapist," what would you suggest as their first step?
Yeah, so we'll definitely get online to our website, and, fill out all of your applications and, go through that whole admissions process of just becoming a student here, if you're not already a student here. If you are a student, then reach out to, again, the website. I'm direct you to the website for our degree plans. And so with degree plans are going to be the core classes that you need to finish that associate's, and then all of those classes transfers over to other Texas public colleges and universities. And so as far as the advising side of it, we're going to help you with those classes and make sure that you're taking the appropriate courses that are going to help you transfer over to, that next step at the university that you're wanting to attend. So we can definitely help with that whole advising process to make sure that you get, each little piece along the way. So it's just core classes, and then either potentially psychology. Sometimes folks have a background in, sociology or even criminal justice sometimes. So it kind of just depends on what your interests are. And then once you've got that, you can just enroll in classes, and it's semester by semester. It's that progress and that consistency over time. And so it's just these set of classes for this short amount of time that's going to get you to your next big goal. And so, yeah, we can definitely help with that whole process to get you started as a student. And then, we have assigned advisors. So we have an advisor that talks about psychology, and she knows about all the transfer guides with the follow-up universities and some of the local ones that we have around here close to us. And so that assigned advisor can definitely help you get connected with any of the transfer universities that you're thinking about going on to, and keep you in the loop with all of that. But that's kind of the main kind of simple process, I guess, just in conversation about what to do. But we have advisors here that will help you with that whole process and making sure that you're, getting on the right track to continue on.
That's kind of a step-by-step guide. I will respond to the emotional part of it, that there was, I didn't know it had a name at the time. Now we call it imposter syndrome. But I thought, what in the world? And many times I thought, what in the world am I doing trying to be a counselor when I've been through blah, 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 I've been through this, and I've had this happen, and who do I think I am? And I will tell you that that's when it drives home that whole need to do your work, because whatever you have not worked on, and sometimes even if you have, that's the client who's going to walk through your door and sit on your couch. And then you're called to do your emotional work. And there are times when, not very often anymore, when I'm calling and getting or going and meeting and getting staff and doing treatment teams, just to make sure my thinking and my approach is appropriate and objective, and or as objective as I can be. We're human beings, right? But that part, and almost without fail, the one that the client that you're most intimidated by will be your first one. And that was definitely the case with me. I was intimidated at the time by rage, by anger, particularly in a female. And who was my first client? As a practicum student, it was someone who just walked out of prison and was required to get their own counseling. Not that they don't deserve it too, but that was exactly what I was intimidated by. And I walked into sessions shaking every time. And I'm sure that they felt it. But I learned through that. I learned how a client, depending on the client, will attempt to take control of the session from the very beginning. The only way you're going to learn about that is by having it done and learning how to work through that and establish the dynamics. I wouldn't say control, but where you have the room. You decide where to sit. You decide, all of that's very important in sessions. It's why you don't, if a client no-shows or doesn't show up for your appointment, the last thing I'm going to do is call around looking for them. That sets the dynamic where you're taking the reins and they're not having, it's very important that they call, they get themselves there, and when they have an appointment, they come, and if they don't, they reach out. All of that's very important in the dynamic process. And not all therapists believe that or have been trained that way, but that's definitely the way I'm trained. Have you heard about any of that?
Yeah, I definitely, I think that that's true in terms of counseling and therapy, that, the thing that we're afraid to work with or that we're afraid to, have come up in topic and conversation, sometimes that's what comes first. And so you're right, we have to work through that emotional part. And so when I moved into the role of helping with more of our mental health crises that we have on campus, that first semester, a couple fall semesters ago, I had multiple conversations with students about suicide.
Oh, yes, I'm sure.
Students who, were really just ready to end, didn't want to live anymore, wanting to end their lives. And, that, I think when I, thought of counseling, and I just hadn't had very many experiences before that, that were so direct, and so focused on, a student in so much distress and had so little hope that they were considering, and some even had plans, and, and allowing myself to work with them through that allowed me to have to really dig deep emotionally within myself to, just reflect on me and how I, how I dealt with that. And so I definitely agree. You said the rage and the anger, person from prison came, and that's who you had to work with. And so I think that that's definitely true, that sometimes, and that's it's scary, It's
Yeah.
scary until you have that experience.